Sports gambling in the United States is a multi-billion-dollar industry. According to the American Gaming Association, it is estimated that over $400 billion is wagered annually on sports contests. Gambling is a big part of the sports culture in the United States. Sports journalists who gamble on sports they cover run the risk of violating their ethical obligations to sports fans. ESPN NBA analyst Rick Bucher, who has 20 years of sports journalism experience, says his job would give him inside knowledge on the possible outcome of games.
I would certainly have an advantage, knowing how referees call games, knowing how teams score high and low, knowing how certain matchups impact particular games, knowing even beyond that, so guys that are nursing injuries or teams whose chemistry is faltering. I would imagine that I would think that I could be pretty successful, but whatever I could possibly make would not be worth the risk to my career.
Associate Director of the John Curley Center for Sports Journalism at Penn State, Hardin, says the lack of ethical considerations observed by some sports writers dates back to the beginnings of sports journalism.
If we look at the history of sports journalism in the United States, sports journalism was sort of it was developed as a promotional instrument for the sports industries in the United States. It wasn't from the beginning designed to be a watchdog.
As sports journalism continues to grow,
Tebow trying to run around the corner. Tebow's got a first down and more. He might score. Touchdown!
Rick Bucher says now more than ever, sports fans may be reading or watching reports that are skewed due to the gambling habits of some reporters.
Reporting in general has become the Wild West. There was a time where you needed to have two solid sources to report almost anything. And those solid sources had to be provided and identified to an editor or someone else that you were working with. And that was the check system.
Professor and chair of the Department of Journalism at the University of Florida, Wayne Wanta, says during his time as a sports writer, gambling took place.
It was at a paper I worked at. I probably should remain nameless, but there was a reporter who actually took bets over the phone in the office. He was caught, and I guess depending on who you talked to, he either took early retirement or he was fired.
Rick Bucher says sports journalists have a responsibility to be unbiased, and sports fans should care about whether or not sports reporters are gambling.
I would think that when I pick up a newspaper or I read someone, I don't want hidden agendas. I want to know where they're coming from and why they're writing what they're writing. Now, it may not be what I agree with, but I'd like to know that they are being truthful to me in every front.
Penn State professor Hardin says the education of aspiring sports journalists can play a role in building the ethical thinking of future sports writers.
Education certainly plays a very large role, but also we know that the family background and the training and the sort of the grounding that someone gets certainly it is part of the mix there when they come into a journalism education program.
As the stakes continue to rise on sports contests throughout the United States,
the game's final play is a Wilson loft to the end zone, which is fought for by Tate with Jennings simultaneous. Who has it? Who they give it to? Touchdown!
Sports journalists must weigh all ethical considerations before using the knowledge they obtain as a reporter for personal gain. I am Junior Skeppel reporting.